Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcasts. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched The Studio, directed by Seth Rogan and Evan Goldberg. Matt Remick is the newly appointed head of Continental Studios. Desperate for celebrity approval, he and his executive team at the movie studio must juggle corporate demands with creative ambitions as they try to keep movies alive and relevant. This show stars Seth Rogen, Catherine O'Hara, Ike Bernholtz,
Berholtz.
Chase Sue Wonders, and Catherine Hahn. So, Del, what were your first impressions about this show?
So I recently watched the I've like I said, I think we've been hearing things about it. It's like I took a glance at like the first episodes. I want to say I'm enjoying it so far. Seth Rogen is one of the probably better comedic writers and actors right now. And his work is self-explanatory. I love how even within the movies or within the backdrop of this show is very much Office vibe and very much Parks Recs vibe, and very much Abbott Elementary vibe, where it's the inner workings of a studio and the people involved. It also still breaks down his himself as a character he's playing, his idiosyncrasies, his insecurities, stuff not, which I think is probably best exemplified in like the second episode, The Oneer, which is also a cut and cheek reference to a cinematic filming style, and to showcase and witness, like, for people to understand the frenetic pace of shooting a Oneer and how the timing is perfect, and contrasting that with the chaos behind the scenes of Matt's behavior, and also delving into his need to always be involved with the films too much, whether to his detriment, is perfectly illustrated in that episode particular. But yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing so far as of watching the third episode. But yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. And there were a lot of good reviews and people were talking about it very positively. Um, I haven't been like, I guess, moved or laughed at any of Seth Rogen's stuff in a long time. Like it's been a while since like one of his projects has, I don't know, motivated me enough to actually want to go see it. But I thought this take of like uh of a studio head who was just trying to like create, like keep the artistic creativity and like keep all of that together, but also like they have to answer to like um a higher boss, a person who is like, I mean, it's very reflective of like what is going on in the Hollywood system at this moment. And I thought that that was a really interesting idea. So I was like, okay, I'm interested to see it. And I just, first of all, love the way that it's shot. I thought that even in like, even in episodes where it's not supposed to be like a one take type of thing, like it does keep pace with all of the characters and it kind of feeds in this kind of high energy, very high like anxiety kind of environment that must be what it's like to work in these like very illustrious studios, I'm assuming.
Hmm.
um but it's also like really silly, so like you have not only like situations that would happen in the you not only have situations that would happen in the entertainment business, but you also have like the real people there. So it gives it an extra layer of validity where it's like, oh, we're talking about how like we want Martin Scorsese to direct this movie, and then actual Martin Scorsese shows up. Like it's just very like, it just makes this world like feel exactly like how you would imagine it to be in real life. And so I really like that, but it also makes the people like the cameos like very kind of over the top and really silly. And I just thought that was a nice twist to like not make it so heavy where it's like these are all of the issues that we are struggling with in this business, but also like the hope that, you know, you can still like make good art even though the situation right now is pretty pretty bad. Like you can still find like joy in doing the work, and like why any of the artists kind of get involved in the stuff in the first place is to do that. So that I really like how they're able to balance the drama and the comedy of it all. And I think Seth Rogan as like the studio head is so funny because it's just like he is a hot mess, and yet he has this job, and all the people around him. It's giving very Veep, where it's like
Yeah,
this person has risen through the ranks not because they're good at their job, but just because like the sheer willpower of like wanting it,
yeah,
like failing upwards, like that is his thing, and everyone around him also doesn't know what they're doing, but like they're in these positions of power as well. So like it's very, I like that they're doing kind of a play on that, but like most of the scenes, like most of the episodes take place like on the studio lot. I think they definitely shot at Warner Brothers, but like um they take place there, so like you feel like the environment of it, and it feels very like um honest. And even like the other stuff where it's like they're going to parties or whatever, like they're shooting at like real life Chateau Marmont or like all these other like glamorous spots. So it does, I think what's fun is like they have these kind of surrealist silly moments, but they also, it's so grounded in reality where you literally feel like if you go to LA, like
yeah.
this is what you would experience.
Yeah, I love the fact that a lot of the characters outside the main core five or four, with the studio people, everybody, whether you're an actor or director, you're playing a turned up version of yourself as a character in a way. Of
Mhm.
course, you got Anthony Mackie over there. Anytime he does an interview, he's always extra excited. In this movie, he plays up the Anthony Mackie character that that he portrays in his appearances. Of course, you had Ron Howard, a prolific director, like one of the biggest directors in Hollywood. But remember, he was also an actor himself. So he's now paying almost a parody version of himself complaining about receiving studio notes and saying basically F you and fighting people, which is, hilarious. The same thing with Sarah Polley. She was originally an actor, she stopped acting. She did Women Talking, which, talking to Seth about this project got her involved in this project for that episode. But once again, she's also an actor turned director who gets to play a version of herself as a director. So it's good to see these people also taking the piss out of themselves as well, which is something you don't really get to see in a lot of other fields, whatever everybody takes themselves super kind of serious in a way. So yeah, I like the success of this is amazing. Like you mentioned the episode with Martin Scorsese. Honestly, to me, that twist calling it Kool-Aid Man and making it about Jamestown Massacre, I would have probably fucked with it. I would have probably watched that shit. And it's also a Metacritic on the state of Hollywood because you're talking about
Yeah.
making a Kool Aid Man IP. Who the really fuck wants to watch a Kool Aid Man movie? But like he said, oh, Barbie was successful. A plastic doll wasn't talk. Why can't we do that with Kool Aid Man? There's a difference. There's a market for Barbie, and Barbie was kind of already there with toys, dolls, and movies, and etc. Kool Aid Man had nothing, And yeah, I love the whole thing and the fact that Matt's like first big bit of dialogue is talking about how this film studio office was built as a temple to Hollywood, which is, and he talks about Rosemary's Baby and all that kind of stuff. Like, and it really shows the fact that, he's stuck in a bygone era of really valuing the old Hollywood system of creating movies everybody wants to watch, whereas the powers that be that people that even work for him that he's fighting are still like, this is modern Hollywood. We have to change. Everybody wants the IP. You gotta chase the hot new thing, whether it's hot director or hot category that everybody wants to watch.
Yeah. And I like what you said about it, which is that it is a meta commentary on like the current studio system and this kind of devaluing of like artistic movies. Like they even talk about that. I think they talk about that in the Ron Howard episode where they're like, nobody wants to watch like a 2 hour like artsy film. And like, I mean,
I mean, that's a shot at you, low key.
yeah. Oh yes, yes. Personally, that was a shot at me. Um, but then you think about movies that like have won Best Picture at the Oscars, and that's exactly what they are.
Yeah,
So, I mean, Oppenheimer was a 2 hour plus very artsy movie.
yeah,
It was a biopic
yeah,
about a guy who invented a bomb. Like,
yeah.
so
At its core, Oppenheimer had very little, but he artsied the fuck out that thing and padded it. So
So, I disagree, but that's just me. Like, I feel like I would also be Mark in this situation. Like, if I had the opportunity to be a studio head, like, that's what I would be doing. Like, let's make the next Raging Bull or something like that. Like, let's go deep. And they would be like, no, you're not. We're not going to pay for this. And I would have to make the Kool-Aid man. Like that literally would be it's so interesting because I feel like every film student, like nerdy person, is just like, yes, like if I was able, like if I was given the keys to that type of position, that's what I would want to do. And then the reality of like who actually is your boss, who's funding all of this, they're just gonna say no because they want the next Barbie without like really understanding like, why those type of things were successful. But also like not knowing kind of that it's not just about the movie, it's about everything else that goes around it. Why these type of things are successful. You have something like that where it relied so heavily on marketing, and then you have something like Sinners where it relies heavily on word of mouth,
Yeah.
both very successful. So it's like trying to find a formula like to whittle down like what makes a movie successful is like an impossible thing to do. I don't think that you can really do that.
Yeah.
But yet like there's so much money being poured into teams like trying to crack a formula of like how to make $1 billion success. And I just maybe that'll be the lesson of this. Like you just can't.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
And honestly, that is honestly a thing with Apple TV. Like as we're like in talking about, the show, the studio, we also can't mention Apple's other project as well. Apple TV, Apple Plus, they've branched out to the streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
And comparatively to their contemporaries in starting out, Apple TV might not have the catalog, but it certainly has the quality of projects everybody wants. You have this, you have Severance, you have the morning show, you have a lot of wonderful, you had Ted Lasso. All these
Mm-hmm.
things have won awards. And Apple is like, I think right now there was reported they're just on the streaming platform alone, they're counting about almost $1 billion in losses annually, just producing these projects. And they're not getting a big financial boom from all these things, but they're getting good press and good marketing. They're saying, hey, you want to make a good project, come to Apple, you'll win an Emmy, you'll win an Oscar, we hire the best directors, best writers, best everybody. And for them, they might be on the business side, they might be reporting just $1 billion losses on funding these projects, but on the back end side, of course, Apple is still making money, whether it's their iPhone. So this is all another string of marketing for them. They're making it back in unseen ways. So it's not funny. It's funny to me that Apple TV is producing a movie on the meta critique of you know the film industry and how nobody wants to make artsy projects, and they're the ones along with A24 producing and creating these projects.
Yeah, I guess it's really not lost on like I guess whoever watches the show that like Apple TV was the streamer that kind of later came late in the game, and it wasn't like a huge success like automatically the way that Netflix was or the way that Hulu is. It kind of like slowly built itself up to the point where it's like you want to watch good TV, you're either watching HBO on Sunday nights or you're watching Apple. And I feel like the reputation of what you're able to provide to artists, but also to audiences, is so important, especially now where you're just kind of being like fed whatever, because people are just trying to make money, right? And I think that because Apple is such a huge thing already, it's so like ubiquitous with like most of our lives that like yes, like you can take the losses because like you're Apple, like it's fine. But what that means is that you can also just give a lot more money creatively to all these people. And it's like Killers of the Flower Moon, a Martin Scorsese film, long as hell, like, but so good. Was nominated for a bunch of stuff, did not win a single Oscar, but they were still like, you know what, we're gonna pour a whole bunch of more money into Severance, into greenlighting another season of Ted Lasso, into making the studio. Like they're fine with it. They're like they didn't see that as like a loss. They were just like, let's just keep making stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because a lot of these other studios, they'll be like, oh, Black Adam didn't do well, so now we just have to like wipe what Batgirl off the map. We have to just cancel all of these different things because one of our projects didn't do as well as we expected. Instead of just being like, okay, well that didn't work, let's try something else. Like their mindsets are so not like they're not plugged in. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you need an Apple TV streamer to like give us good stuff. Like this show is so good. Like I maybe it's because we already are like invested in entertainment and like film. So like this is like our catnip.
Mhm.
But like for everyone else, I still think it's really good. Like and like you were saying earlier, like this the way that the directors and the actors who are appearing on the show are kind of playing heightened versions of themselves does really bring home the point of like what this industry is kind of built around, where like you'll have a whole setting where people are just having conversations about like what is the best deal that I can get out of this project. Like I'm only talking to you because I need $100,000 Rolling Stone song. Like I it's very transactional and very cutthroat in a way that
Mhm.
like maybe people who aren't privy to this world might not understand, but like that is legitimately how it works. Like you're only doing what you need to do to get what you want out of anybody. Um, but I also like I love that like even the actors, one, I love that the directors who they have on the show are also actors. So it's not like they're like out of their element. Um, I don't think you're up to episode 4 yet, but Olivia
No.
Wilde is in that one,
Yeah.
and she's also an actor and director. Martin Scorsese also acts in a lot of his movies, so like that's why he was able to do the stuff. But like having someone like Greta Lee on there talking about how like she wants a private jet because she's been doing like these A24 movies and she's broke, like that's funny. Like that is hilarious to me because it's like well, you're not broke, but like I can see how you were like, no, I don't want to travel
Mhm.
commercial. Like, please give me the private jet. Like, it's just very,
Like, I'm
it's
Greta Lee.
very
Can you
funny.
imagine me
Yeah,
on a plane with everybody else? Like, no.
it's like,
People pay to see me. I would never be caught dead, that kind of thing.
yeah, it's just very, yeah, it's so funny. It's just like really good commentary on the business without it being like completely depressing. And I
Yeah.
just really appreciate that, especially now where it's just like we go through the news every single week, and every week it's just like, oh, okay. And then another studio did a really awful thing, and like we'll get into it later. Like it's just more stuff.
Yeah.
So like I think this show is good and like keeping you optimistic about like what can be accomplished in this industry, but also not like shying away from like the reality of what it is. And like if you want to be a part of this, like just understand what you're coming in for, but also know that you can make really cool things and like that's why you do the job. So it's complex and it's
Yeah.
layered, and I really like it. I like the whole 70s vibe to it too. So like it's cool.
Yeah. The very Art Deco kind of thing,
Yeah.
but this it's the project like this is what you get when you have multi hyphenates who
Hmm.
fill every single role you could think of also involved in it. Of course, Seth, actor, comedian, not filmmaker, so he understands the actor side of this world. He also understands what it takes to be a filmmaker. He understands that word. So because he has a natural understanding of this world, he's able to highlight the comedic stupidity of it and ratchet it to 100, and also is able to communicate the issues and somewhat nonsensical moments that we are not aware of or fans are not aware of. You even got Catherine Hahn, who plays in Marvel movies, taking a shot at Marvel as well in this, which is hilarious because
Hilarious.
she's talking about nobody wants to see a 3 hour movie, and someone's like, the last Marvel movie wants it was 3 hours movies, and she was like, and everybody hated it, and she just did, WandaVision, that kind of thing, so yeah, it's like this is satirical, comedy that's drama at its finest.
It's really good. I can't wait to keep watching. I don't know when the last episode airs, but I'm really appreciating. I feel like I said this before that like television is just so good right now in a way that I can't remember it being for like years. Like I feel like before you had like a couple, like I mean a handful of good shows, but like I feel like certain platforms are really like delivering good stuff. Like I love
Mhm.
that this is coming on at the same time as The Last of Us. So like even when that ends, like you still have something to like look forward to and watch. Like I really appreciate that. Like I appreciate there's like multiple really good things out there, which makes me feel like less cynical about the industry overall because
Yeah.
I'm like there is still good stuff being made. Even in film, like there's a lot of good films being made as well. People might not be as aware of them, but they are out there. So like that's the kind of things that kind of keep you like, okay, I still want to be a part of this.
I I don't know. I think it's like the industry as a whole is fighting a change because before all these, streamers and a lot of these studios that are now out now, a lot of them are also like CBS Paramount. They were making films and stuff for the most part. ABC, and NBC. But I feel like there is a schism between what they put on broadcast TV and what they put on streaming platforms. Like, there's an excellent variety on streaming platforms, and there's probably more engaging and better content on the streaming platforms than they broadcast on terrestrial TV stations. Um, that also might be to the fact that they're playing to a different demographic. Because let's be honest, a lot of our parents still prefer to watch stuff on
Yeah.
TV. So the type of content is okay. This is what that audience like. We'll stick with it. The streaming platforms, they say, okay, cool. We'll throw out a variety on streaming platforms, and what hits, and what doesn't, we'll retool and repurpose and capture an audience that way. Which I think works, but I also do think there is also a space to do that on regular broadcast television for both. Because I'm pretty sure if like if like I guess like my dad is like big into like soaps and stuff. Like I
Yeah, my
know, I
mom too.
know,
Hmm.
I know if that I showed him like, look, there's this cool soap opera that's on a streaming platform. You don't gotta wait whatever. You can like wait a week and marathon it to your heart's content. He'll be down for it, because my dad also plays for Amazon. Like the moment I tell him, oh, there's a new episode of XYZ, he'll go and watch like Jack Reacher or
Hmm.
Mission Impossible. So there are some older audience and older target demographics who want to engage in these streaming platforms, but I guess the broadcast companies slash studios are afraid to make an adaptation. Like you said with HBO, HBO is HBO because they make stuff for like multiple demographics and they're still fine. Like
Right.
HBO was originally just broadcast cable, you know,
Hmm.
and so the adaptation to streaming was easier for them. And that's why I feel like when the streaming first started, all these other companies had difficulty because they weren't used to making content for a big swath of people.
Yeah. Uh, The industry is in like a real, still in a transition period. Like, I think what COVID did and what streaming did combined has just like reconfigured like everything about how we watch movies, but also like how they are getting made. So I don't know if they'll ever find their footing. I hope they do. I hope they understand, like get some
Hmm.
kind of a balance. I'm not sure, but like um there's audiences who want really good stuff. Like, it's people are still watching. I think I saw a report earlier that where it's like people are still going to the movies.
Hmm.
Like there is a desire for really good stuff. It just kind of needs to be a both end kind of thing. Like we got to work together on that. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to like continue the rest of the series. The problem with for us, I think, talking about these shows is particularly if on a platform it's like podcasts, whatever, talking about shows, is the fact that we have to wait for the whole thing. Because I
mhm.
think the series ends on May 21st.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to like, we'd have to talk about it's like almost every day, which is like kind of difficult to do. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I still like in my head just going over the whole show, like especially like the Warner. I think so far out of the three episodes I've watched, the Warner is my favorite. Like it encapsulates the whole studio problem to a T.
Yes.
And then he also makes remember us talking about the Hollywood was it the Me Too movement kind of thing, and he's
Mhm.
also talking to Sarah Pauly about I'm all for women directors, like doing all the lip surface stuff, and then behind the scenes damn well the industry does the very little, like stuff like that. I
Yep.
like I loved so much from that episode.
It's yeah, it's so far it's been the best one. So like it's been really good. I'm really enjoying it. So I can't wait to keep watching.
Onto the box office, from the past weekend.
Okay.
Of course, at number 10, coming in only making about 25K domestically. I say that like it's a small amount, but if I had 25K right now, y'all couldn't tell me nothing. Of course, is Rust. Of course, if you mentioned the story about Rust, that was a story involving Alec Baldwin as a producer and actor who fatally shot one of the directors on set. Yeah, it's flopped in theaters, and it's also doing a video on demand a strategy as well. Honestly, the controversy with people not wanting to watch a film was what happened on set, so that really kind of dampened everything. Nine, of course, is a surfer, made 75, 100, 725K. Sorry, numbers don't work with me. Opening in about 1,000 theaters. It's of course a Nicolas Cage film that was a hit at Cannes. Like I think it's over like 80% positive on Rotten Tomatoes. But of course, as we discussed multiple times, a lot of the stuff that are successful at these film festivals and that critics enjoy sometimes don't translate the same as with the audience, especially when you have minimum marketing. Because past Cannes Film Festivals, I've heard nothing about The Surfer so far. Of course, it is Warfare. It's in its fourth week, made in about $103 million. 52% drop. From in week from week one. Well, no, from week three. It made about it's been so far made 24 million about it. Um, of course, A24 action film reminds me very much of Hawk Down. Haven't seen it yet. Haven't had the time to see it, but I really want to.
Okay.
We got six at King of Kings. In its fourth week, made 100 made 1.7 million domestically, about a 61% decrease. It's made 57% domestically. We have the Amateur in its fourth week, 100 in its fourth week making 1.8 million. Total domestic so far is 36 million. Till Dawn, film based on a video game, is in its second week, made 3.8 million domestically, 50 about a 53% drop from the previous week. So it's only made about 14 million total domestically. And Sony's having a hard time to market this movie, and it's kind of go slow dying a slow death in box office. I think this majority ties to the marketing because I'm a video game person. I even forgot that they were turning this into a movie. Didn't hear much about it. Like the marketing for this has been like horrible. It's the complete opposite of what HBO did with Last of Us, another game IP. Where it was thrown everywhere. Like this project has not had a single peep. The Accountant 2 brings in fourth with 9.5 billion domestically, 61% difference, and it's so far made 41 million domestically. So yeah, second week for this is the Ben Affleck movie also took a bit of a hit, but it should find a even steady keel because it's one of the only other big action movies out in theaters right now until Mission Impossible comes out, if I stand correct. Minecraft movies drops to third in its fifth week. It still made 13.7 million, a 40% decrease, and still has made about 400 million domestic total with almost 9 million 900 million global. So it's gonna hit that $1 million club, $1 billion club that mostly reserved for Marvel movies nowadays or Star Wars. After that, of course, it's Sinners. Like we love Sinners. We'll talk nonstop about Sinners. In its third week, made 33 million domestically, just a 28% drop. So far, it's in its run, it's made almost 180 domestically and almost 240 million globally. Amazing numbers. Seems like people love black pictures. Who do? People love that kind of thing. So and the drop is not that big a drop, especially because this movie is only losing a lot of the IMAX screens to Thunderbolts, but it's going to be back in IMAX theaters I think May 15th. So it's taking the hit now from Warner Brothers, not from Marvel, it coming out one of Thunderbolts, taking a lot of the IMAX screenings it needs. 'Cause I don't think this movie's playing. It's only playing on IMAX. If I'm correct, right?
Oh, I didn't watch it in IMAX.
Sinners. So you didn't watch it on IMAX? Okay. Well, the
Mm.
main draw wasn't for playing was to play in IMAX. But so yeah, I'll be back in IMAX by May 11th. Of course, number one, Thunderbolts, almost 80 million domestic, almost 160 million globally. Yeah, it's putting up decent numbers. So it looks good so far for I guess Marvel, and of course Ryan Coogler dominating the space. Like the shocker to me, I didn't like once again I didn't expect the Minecraft movie to be the hit it is. Especially also considering now it's taken a hit between one movie that, of course, has all the Marvel marketing push behind it, and Sinners, like you mentioned, just mostly relying on word of mouth, and repeat viewings to still stay in the top spot so far at two. So that's it for me on the box office side of things.
Okay, so moving on to the news. Trump says that he is instituting a 100% tariff on films produced outside of the US because the movie industry in America is dying.
Mhm.
The president posted that Hollywood and other areas are being devastated due to a concerted effort by other nations, which constitutes a quote unquote national security threat. So, I mean, like, I don't have anything else to say about this man other than that he is unhinged and deranged and, like, should not be sitting in the Oval Office right now. But more than that, it is just, like, I don't know, incredible, I guess. The fact that, like, he has no clue about how these industries work. And yet he's just like, you know what? Tariff them. And I think the Trump era overall, they see like that there is an issue, but instead of like taking the steps to correct the issue in a way that makes sense to actually solve the problem, they just create a buffoon like type of scenario that won't address the issue or create a solution. So, like, yes, it is true that less movies and TV shows are being made in LA. There's very few that are being made in LA anymore. I've heard multiple actors talk about this issue. It's very expensive to shoot there. It's extremely expensive to shoot in New York. So, like, yes, like there are less movies and TV shows being made in America, and more countries like England, Hungary, like all of those places are just like more people are shooting over there because Canada, for example,
Mhm.
because it's just less expensive to shoot over there. But if these cities would have like give tax credits and like have incentives for artists to actually shoot there, it would solve the problem of like people moving elsewhere. So that's what needs to be addressed, not putting 100% tariffs. First of all, he can't even do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that like everything in the movie industry is so interconnected that you couldn't even like a show that is being produced in the UK, but it's an American show or it's an American studio. Like HBO is an American, like I don't know what it
It's an
is.
American company, yeah,
It's a company,
yeah.
but like House of the Dragon shoots in the UK. So like what so how would you even differentiate that? Like what you know what I'm saying? Like so he doesn't again just doesn't know what he's talking about. Can't do the thing that he's saying that he wants to do anyways. And also, is this a problem that you specifically need to be focusing on? I feel like our economy is going to crap. People don't have any money, people can't get jobs, and what you're worrying about is making Hollywood great again. Like can you prioritize the right things, please? Like adding tariffs to things is not a solution, and I feel like he doesn't understand that, but he understands it enough to put pauses on certain tariffs that he's introduced. He doesn't even have the power to do all these things, so it's just like very like stop wasting your time with this, please.
It's as what I realized recently, and somebody made me recognize. I forgot the podcast. It's still the podcast. So there's the two white ladies. I don't know if you remember it. Um,
What's it called?
I forgot the name of it, but I was watching a clip, and one of them had said, "It seems like the more his approval goes down, the more he becomes more deranged and tries to shift blame on something else." Like, and that's literally, if you realize, it's the same thing that happened in his first term. Is when bad things are happening, he'll put something out, and it shifts everybody's focus onto that topic instead of all the other litany of issues. Like, this comes out. What is this? This is May 5th, May
Mm-hmm.
6th, whatever. May 5th. What we failed to realize is get the Department of Education under Linda McMahon has decided to go, oh, see if you have loans out and they're being held for whether financial difficulty and stuff like that, they've paused that and they're now gonna try and dock people's wages and stuff. Like people aren't talking about that coming back into focus without us knowing. We're talking about Trump's. stuff from Sunday. So the issue that would be taking place today that affects millions of people, with financial aid loans now being okay, you've had your payment plan, you've paused you paused your payment for whatever reason. Oh, now we're back to trucking, we're garnishing your wages. We're not talking about that issue. We're talking about tariffs on movies, which is their whole thing. It is like I said, it especially makes no sense in regarding to a lot of these movies being filmed are yes, they're being shot in European locations, but they're American companies. Let's be honest. For a lot of the stories modern Hollywood is making, you can't film all these pictures in the states for the locations they want. 9 times out of 10. Like you mentioned LA. Yeah, LA was originally the shooting hotbed because at the time when a lot of movies were being made, they were being shot in studio, on sound and
Right.
stage. And if they
Right.
weren't, they were country and westerns, being able to be shot in the deserts of California, Nevada. Fine. Most movies now are also very regional specific with their stories. They shoot here in Atlanta. Marvel comes here to shoot stuff. You can't really. It's kind of hard to shoot in New York City and pause the hustle bustle in the city. All right, fine. We go to another big city. We go to Vancouver. We come once again to Atlanta. We shoot in Toronto, where we can, where it's not where the congestion's there, where we're able to block off, roadways and stuff with ample time. It's impossible to say people can't shoot here. Like especially you got this list. You have Avengers Doomsday is on location right now, currently shooting in London, because that's almost like a globe trotting story. You have like Captain Carter, she's British, so they're probably shooting her stuff there, or Stephen Strange or whatever. Spider Man shooting some stuff there. You have Avatar. Fire and Ash shooting in New Zealand. And that kind of picture has to be shot overseas. You have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Once again, that kind of superhero movies tend to be kind of globe trotting in a way. Of course, in London. Mission Impossible, another globe-trotting feature, which obviously would be shooting in variously. You have the Ballerina, the John Wick extension, shooting in Czech Republic. A lot of, once again, action-esque spy thrillers kind of always shoot in Eastern Europe for aesthetic purposes. And of course, right now you have Star Wars Starfighter. For years, Star Wars, shot in Pinewood Studios in London. So of course it was always going to be in the UK. So it makes no sense, and he's saying is dying because once again we've spoken about this before that the arts are always critical of the changes that society is facing, and I think he's also definitely afraid of that. Like we talked about it with the 60-minute stuff that are changing, that a guy left at the behest of a lawsuit that they're going through against the president and a current buyout. That's his thing. Shifting blame and focus on other things, and also blaming his failures on another entity. And the industry isn't failing. We know why it's failing is the too rapid adaptation of streaming, and that's it. So I don't know. It's gonna bite his ass because just like the other day where I think they disclosed that Amazon is not including the price difference on due to tariffs goods, and Jeff Bezos is one of his people. Now there's a schism between Jeff Bezos and him. Like he probably has a lot of donors who are actors and stuff like that, and so on and so forth, who are in the film industry who are gonna be like, you're hurting my pockets now, and he's gonna probably just 9 times out of 10 roll back his decision making once it feels that it's gonna negatively affect him and continue to do so. So moving on to that diatribe by me, I'm sorry, I apologize, but on some better fare, the dynamic duo of Denzel and Spike Lee will reunite in a New York City crime thriller called Lowest to Highest, with an appearance by A$AP Rocky. Haven't seen A$AP Rocky act in much stuff. So it's usually a cameo kind of thing where he plays himself. So I'm interested in it. So Spike Lee has released the trailer for his picture. It's backed by both A24 and Apple, which we've just talked about Apple earlier in the episode, with the work as long as with A24. The movie will be released August 22nd and stream on Apple TV Plus September 5th after its world premiere this month at Cannes. Of course, the picture is written by Alan Fox. The film, of course, a lot of Spike Lee stuff tends to draw heavily on Japanese cinema. The film Lowest to Highest is based on Akira Kurosawa's Low to High, which kind of follows a businessman deciding to use his wealth to further his career or save the child. And of course, both of those are interpretations of Ed McBain's A King Ransom. So knowing Denzel's love affair of that kind of artistic pieces, literary stuff, and Spike Lee's, love of adapting almost Japanese or foreign films and putting like American spin on it, I can tell this is going to be perfect, you know.
Yes, I'm very excited for this one. Um, and it is kind of funny how like A24 is just like putting out movies with like musical artists now. It's like I know like the new, what is it, the Benny Safdie, no, the Josh Safdie movie that's coming out later this year, which Timothy Chalamet also has Tyler the Creator in it.
Hmm.
Like they're just like, yeah, just jump in.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see them act. I think ASAP Rocky was in Dope. So I think I
Hmm.
have seen him act.
He was in Dope, but it
It's
was
been
like
a
he's
minute.
kind of playing a version of himself in a way.
Yeah. So like it'll probably be more of the same of that. All right, so let's talk about our last story here, which is about Disney wanting more from Marvel, but now it wants less. The superhero studio is cutting back TV production and fixing its film slate after fans lost the plot. The head of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, told colleagues recently that watching all the comic book giant new TV shows and films has started to feel more like homework than entertainment. And this is true. It's interesting that now he's like catching up to like what everyone's been saying for years
Yeah.
now. That's so funny to me. Um, so now they're just focusing more on the films than the shows, and the fact that like Marvel fatigue was being much more like um felt by like a lot of people. And I think that he already had like consolidated the slate. Like I think he had pared it down anyways. Like I think he did that what last year or something. Because
Hmm.
like the slate for this year is much more reduced. Um and the TV shows that are coming out, I'm not sure of all of them. I just know the ones that I've watched. They have been interesting. Like Daredevil was fine, but like they had switched so many things around that like it was kind of confusing. But I think he has learned, he understands that like more isn't going to do much for anyone. You really just have to put out quality things like he used to back in the day. It really isn't like that hard to figure out, but
Yeah.
I guess it just took multiple failures for him to like click into like what everyone else had already understood.
Hmm.
So, but from what I'm hearing, and I'm gonna go try to see it. Maybe next. No, it's Mother's Day. I'll see it at some point. But Thunderbolts seems like it's great and everyone's really into it. It
Yeah.
seems like it's like the reset that Marvel needed. So hopefully going forward, like when Fantastic Four and all these other movies are coming out, like it'll be much more in the vein of just like really good films where you don't have to like have watched a whole bunch of other things to understand like what the story is. And I think that that actually will probably draw more people in because more people will be like, okay, cool, I didn't see the show, fine, I can still go
Yeah.
watch the movie. So
Yeah, it was a slog, like between Iron Man to once they did Avengers, the first Avengers movie till Avengers Endgame, it was boom, 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 boom. If movies coming out, then you also had like almost like what, about a year or 2 years between each other. But it's still, as far as film terms for a franchise, 2 years to a year between each movie, that's a lot of. And at the time, that's like what 12 movies, I think. That's a lot of movies to come out. Then you had, of course, at the time the Netflix series with the first season of Daredevil. You had Jessica Jones first seasons. You had two first seasons of Luke Cage. You had the horrible thing with uh Iron Fist that were a part of Marvel but not part of Marvel, so you could watch without watching it.
right,
You
right.
had Wolfman. You had other pictures. You had Agents of Shield being broadcast on ABC, which was a part of Marvel but not a part of Marvel because they would take topics and then a year down the road, the movies is talking about that thing, but it's not the same thing that was in Shield, and Shield wasn't really featured in anything happened in Shield or in the movies wasn't really being featured in Agents of Shield other than Nick Fury, by Sam just popping up in an episode and that was it. So yeah, it was a slog, and I think they realized in this after the major course correction came up after the Marvels, which they view Marvels as a failure. But for other distributors, Marvels wouldn't be a fair. The Marvels was still a success, but it not wasn't the success that they were expected. Because I think about for the Marvel franchise, almost about when I say Marvels, I mean the whole MCU. I think about 10 or 11 movies all passed the $1 billion mark.
Mm,
So for that, for the Marvels that hit that, especially also, they also view like Captain America: Brave New World, which underwent hella rewrites, and is one of those things that was a victim of that whole overhaul of scaling back and actually fixing the issues. Um, that made about what 800 million dollars, which in some people, that'd be a success, but for Marvel, for Disney, who would expect those 3 billion, 2 million, 2 billion, $1 billion draws, it wasn't a success. So
mm. Yeah, interesting.
yeah,
So much money just being like thrown around. I guess they made their budgets back. I'm
yeah,
assuming.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if they make their budget back, that's fine. But Marvel also still wants a lot more
Yeah.
than that. So
Mm. Right. So moving on to what we have watched this week, Dale.
Um, outside of of course, NBA playoffs, you know, the I was
That's happening right now? Yes.
yeah, I was
Yes.
you
Yes.
have the NBA playoffs, right, going on. NBA draft, MFL draft just completed. Yesterday was like a full Sunday was like a full motorsports day for me.
Oh
I
yeah, F1. Didn't that happen?
F1
Yeah.
happened, and
I
the
know that.
NASCAR race was at the same time, and the IndyCar race was like an hour before that. So I had like all my screens just full watching, try to watch all of them. Um, but yeah, I haven't had the chance to watch movies because catching up on a lot of sports stuff. I'm excited for the F1 movie to come out. I got it advanced screening, so that I'm not gonna spoil it for
Oh,
anybody when I watch
cool.
it. Like you said, I'm hoping to see the Thunderbolts sometime this weekend, but I'll be at a graduation, so hopefully I'll be able to find time when I'm traveling to go see it. But yeah, so long story short, I'm looking forward to watching the Thunderbolts the most this weekend now that I have like some free time to do so.
Yeah. Sounds good. All of the Twilight movies are back on Netflix. So I rewatched the first one. It is so bad, but so good. It's just like just the amount of camp
Yes.
ridiculousness. So fun to see people at the beginning of their careers. Also, like, I don't know. There's just like something so like nostalgic about it. Like not only watching it, but listening to the soundtrack, especially, it just takes me back to when I was how old was I when that came out? 11,
Mm,
12.
mm.
God, years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, but those movies hold a special place in my heart. So I am going to rewatch all of them. Um, I might rewatch New Moon tonight. Let's see what happens. But yeah, that was fun. Still watching Last of Us, still watching Ted Lasso. Um, I am rewatching the Beckham docuseries. I go back to that every now and again. It's just like so inspiring. Weirdly, like I don't know. I love sports documentaries anyways, but like
Mm.
that one in particular is just like very inspiring
Yeah.
because it's like like you can't like manufacture that kind of talent. It just kind of happens. Like you work really hard, like that it like you get pushed really hard and you work really hard to do it, but also like if you got it, you got it. Like I don't know, it's a very specific thing, but yeah. So watching that is great. Victoria Beckham is hilarious. Um, I think they're making a docu series with her, so
Mm.
I'm waiting for that to come out because I'm like, I need more of that. She's hilarious. But yeah, I need to. I started watching. Um, uh, was it? No, it's not Bringing Up Baby, but it's the other old one where it's like very like fast paced. Crap, what's it called?
What?
It's with Cary Grant and Rosa. Let me just look it up. Let me stop being weird. It's yeah, it's like when they're like journalists, uh, and like they get a divorce and she wants to like get married again or some crap like that. Or is it Bringing a Baby? No, it's not Bringing a Baby. It's the other one. He's in the other one. His Girl Friday. That's the one I started watching. His
Okay.
Girl Friday. It's not really my jam because he's kind of annoying, but maybe I'll finish it. I don't know, and I'm gonna start watching Psycho at some point this week. I'm really
Okay.
excited.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. David Beckham, popularity is, I always view kind of weird. Probably, being a soccer fan, you know,
Mm.
his success, is weird. But I also realize he's one of the most famous soccer players in the world. But he's also not, like, to me, in my opinion, Zinedine Zidane or Thierry Henry. Like, I think there are a lot of other players higher than him. But I think what helped him a lot is his profile in the States, which is able to push more brand stuff and inflate his flame globally. So I'm always surprised whenever David Beckham gets like a new documentary, like every couple years, but then you have all these other more skilled, more successful soccer players who don't really get that, which I always thought was weird. But that's a non sequitur. But
Yeah, I think it's like knowing how to play the game. That's what really kind of pushes you over the line. And that's not just in terms of sports. I think that's also in terms of like music, acting. Like there are people who are really good at what they do, and then there are people who are really good at being famous. And I feel like if you know how to mix those two things, you're kind of golden. Like I was watching this thing. Sorry, this is so unrelated, but I'll come back to it. I'll come back to the main point. I was watching this video essay where this girl was talking about One Direction, and she was saying that like even though like there's, I don't know if you know the band One Direction, the members of One Direction, but like
to a degree, yeah.
To me, and I think to most people, Zayn Malik, who was with Gigi Hadid, I don't know, is a much like vocally a better singer than Harry Styles. But Harry Styles is more famous than him because Harry Styles knew how to be a famous person. Like he knew how to like tap into like the female audience. He knew how to brand himself well in this kind of like 70s rocker androgynous thing what really captured people's attention. He was dating the right people that got him the right attention. Like, so even though vocally he's not the best person on that group, he just knew how to like market himself better. And I feel like that's exactly the same. Like Michael Jordan, one of the best players ever, right? But also like the sneakers, like he knew how to do it. He knew the business. He knew the business. And I feel like when you know the business, you're kind of good. So like I don't doubt that any of those other players that you mentioned are way better than David Beckham. I'm 100% sure that they are. It's just I don't know if they were like personalities in the same way that he was.
Yeah.
That was a long tangent, but yeah.
I realize that now. He probably saw it, knowing the success of his wife being a Spice Girl. He saw that the appeal outside of your one zone of this is the thing you do. You got to be able to draw fans outside of that. You got to be able to like talk to the movers and shakers and be on covers of magazines everywhere. So I can't knock the hustle. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's it. All right. Enough of our tangents. That's it for us this week. We hope that you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Make sure to check out all of our social media, support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.